Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another Office Hours live stream. With me, as always, is my trusty TA, Big Al. Say hi, Al.
Hi, Al.
And we have with us our guest lecturer, the Klingon cleric, Mr. Troy Pacelli. Welcome, Troy.
Hey.
Having to refresh my YouTube because it was still on the countdown. Didn't like me going in early a bit there, so we are good though. Let's see. If you don't mind clicking that thumbs up, that would be a big help. Checking on the chat.
Thank you.
I did see Fan Man busted in first. I think he took off after that because he wouldn't reply to me in the chat. But Fan Man busted in with a $5 super chat first.
Yeah.
So thank you very much to the Fan Man for the drive by.
That's why I said I'm glad that we're cheap dates.
Yeah. Of course, we have Troy and Annette. And
speak for yourself. I want to be wined and dined.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The YouTube streaming star here.
Well, I want to be wined and dined too. I'll go with cheap wine and dine.
There you go. DRY Designs, Auditor Dread, Matanui, saw Sound Engraver in here. We've got Chris P became a channel member. Thank you very much. Always appreciated. Absolutely. Brian Gilmartin. Lots of folks in here. So welcome, Casey Scott, Age of Boomer. Yeah, there we go. Scrolling on down. So
it was Monday night on Sound Engraver's live stream. It was the first time, I never noticed this before, the DRY Designs. She said, is that DRY or dry? And I was like, oh, yeah, that could have been dry.
That could have been dry. I still remember him when he was Dr. Yeisley.
Dr. Yeisley, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Dr. Yeisley's Creations.
Mm-hmm.
After that. But yeah, I remember thinking dry too, but I just happened to know who it was.
Right.
So I just, I didn't
So
say
I never went to the dry thing, and I keep going DRY.
Yeah, exactly.
I just say DR.
That's fair.
Hey, DR.
I like dry designs though. Might just start saying that.
Dry designs.
Welcome, Sartorian and Clegane as well. So how are you guys up to this evening?
I am doing well. If you've been following, well, maybe I didn't even post it. I've been watching the Clone Wars.
Yeah, you've been talking about it in the Messenger.
We're about midway through the first season. I'm still just baffled that there's you got to watch an episode from the second season, then the two from the third season.
It's
ridiculous.
And
then what?
And as I told you would think that Disney would fix that when they put the whole series on Disney Plus. Like, surely, because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you'll watch 2 episodes out of an arc, and then the end, the conclusion will just be nowhere. And then 2 seasons later, they get to the conclusion of that arc, and you're like, what?
What's also kind of strange is you get 3 or 4 episodes in a very clear arc. They all go together, and then there's this jump. Did I just miss an episode? Knowing what I know from the beginning of the series, I'm like, I could totally be not seeing one out of order. No, it's just, it does that jump, and it's like, whatever.
Sounds like the Fox guys who aired Firefly just don't know how to air a show.
Well, yeah, but this is a little bit worse because we're talking about 3 seasons of confusion instead of just.
Now, is that how it originally? Was that how it originally aired?
That's the original airing order. Yeah,
and nobody noticed.
Now, Professor, is the 2003 series in any way connected to this?
No, it's the 2D's 2003 series was kind of that came first and told a very compressed, version of the story between episodes 2 and 3, and then this version came out to really expand it. So Ahsoka's not in the 2003 series, but you do get to see Anakin progress from Padawan to Knight in that 2D series, which is pretty cool.
Interesting.
But you don't, since it's so short and compressed, you don't really get to know the clones at all. You don't get to know any of the other Jedi Council members, like you do in the longer series. So
that is some really good story there. The stuff about the clones. I'm like I said, only halfway through the first season, and I'm like, now I'm still having a hard. It takes me a long time to learn character names.
Sure.
But I'm really, really impressed with. And unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I did watch a YouTube channel that did like a 7-season, as far as we've gotten so far, summation.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I know
yeah.
the basic story arc.
Sure.
So I saw the introduction of the character 99.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And
Cool.
I'm like, oh, I love this character. He's gonna die horribly.
It's I mean, it was on like Adult Swim, and stuff like that. So it was, even though it's a cartoon, and on some level it's kept sort of down to cartoon. I mean, like they're not going to show blood and guts or anything, but it's like it's adult themes. I mean, people dying and serious things going on and stuff.
I kind of got that, and when I saw, I tend to make this. I tend to be very dark jokey as we watch stuff like ship goes down and Jar Jar goes, oh no, and I go, oh, he's dead, and then that's like, no, he's not. Yep, he totally is. And I'm like, well, that kind of ruins my joke. I mean, I just called it. I mean, the whole joke is supposed to be I'm going to the extreme, and no, he's just fine. No, he's dead.
I'm finally gonna have to break down and watch this damn series, aren't I?
Well, if you want to know what everybody's talking about.
Yeah,
you'll like it. I mean, let's face it, you're Mr. Positive, so you're gonna like it no matter what.
At least I can do it on my new toy.
That's right. Al entered into the millennium here and finally bought a smart TV. He's like, you mean I could just watch Netflix from the TV itself? Like, we've been doing that for a while, Al.
Yeah.
Well, I knew it was out there. I just, I had no reason to get a new one until Sunday morning when everything went kaflooey on my old.
Oh, and so 30. You had to buy a new TV.
I had to buy a new TV, and even that was a whole process that
sure.
A weird process I had to go through. And actually, I lucked out because if I had gotten what I had originally ordered, it would have been too large for the stand I had.
Oh.
I'd originally I'll try to make it short. Originally ordered a 43-inch that they said they had, and then they said they found it and put it up front to pick up. And when my cousin, God bless him, went to go pick it up, it wasn't there. So they offered me a great deal on I could either get a 50-inch of the same size, the same model, or a better deal on a 40-inch. So I went smaller because there's just no way I could fit a 50-inch where I'm at. And so I got a nice one. It was a happy accident, and I got to save some money on it.
Well, that's always awesome.
Yeah, it worked out. And after I did all the little registering and figuring out what the hell I was doing, I finally got to watch television again last night. I was so happy.
So I don't know too much about smart televisions. I mean, technically mine is one, and I've got my computer hooked up to it, so I can do like everything. But can you like watch like YouTube on it and stuff like that?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay, there you go. So you have the same kind of setup I do. Okay.
Yeah, and actually, you go to a YouTube special YouTube site and put in a certain password that the television tells you to, and everything suddenly happens.
It's amazing.
Same thing with Amazon.
Woo, the technology.
How did you know that?
So,
TV is smart.
So I'm sure most of the people in the stream already know I'm using I'm using a monitor that's right in front of me. So when I'm looking right down here, for example, at StreamYard, I'm looking at the monitor. But when I look up like this, I'm looking up at the TV screen, the big screen, and that's where I have YouTube. So, and if I look right into the camera, it's creepy.
a little bit. Yeah,
Troy. Yeah, don't do that.
Oh man. Yeah, when they make tutorials and stuff like that, if how to get started as a YouTuber, and they're always saying, look into the camera. People want to hear from you. I just never sensed that. I'm perfectly happy with somebody looking off to because I mean, especially in a stream like this where we're having a conversation with each other that happens to be live, it'd be kind of creepy if I'm like, hi, aged boomer, how are you? That's just,
okay, you're right. That is creepy.
Right?
Yeah.
Now some people,
Professor. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, please.
Hi, Big Al.
So here's what it comes down to, and I've kind of noticed this from watching other streams.
I was
What?
nothing. I was going to say I'll be in my bunk, but I was
Oh,
Oh
gosh.
God, no, please. That
Well,
is
let's
taking it
see.
to the next level.
We're
I
about
just
what?
realized I don't have-
Not 10 minutes in. It was time for Al to
Nope.
make it weird.
Of course.
I made it exactly 10 minutes.
And he made it exactly as creepy as he intended to. So
Exactly.
I wasn't the one that looked lovingly into my eyes. I'll say.
but what I'm starting to say is that on other channels, what I've noticed is when it's a pre-recorded show, there we go, that's better. When it's a pre-recorded
Show
show,
off.
you got the link to order the darn lamp.
It's actually supposed to be in tomorrow. Amazon Prime's just taking so freaking long. But I was hoping to be in by tonight. But
Amazon's getting a workout. Let's
Yeah.
But when it's a pre-recorded show and it's being done in the form of like a lecture or a presentation or whatever, to look into the camera and present makes sense. But you're right. When you're addressing somebody, it kind of falls under the same rules as like a lecture. I mean, you want to occasionally make eye contact, but you don't just focus. You kind of look around, you look at your notes, you look at the screen, you look up at the person you're talking to and whatever. You don't focus, that's weird.
I'm glad it's just me, not my introverted self. Like, no eye contact.
No, I mean, I've done the whole Toastmasters thing and everything, and they talk about specifically how long you maintain. You want to make eye contact with people in your audience, but you never want to stare at anyone for any one long length of time. Just stare and stare and stare and stare. That's just real uncomfortable.
I've noticed that Jordan Peterson does that. He actually says that's like one way to help people who have problems public speaking. I think it kind of looks creepy.
Right.
Like single out somebody and just talk to them for a few minutes. And I'm like, it bothers me when he does it to somebody else in his video. Like, that's how
I keep picturing Judge Reinhold when he was the close talker on Seinfeld.
Oh yeah. That's right. Forgot about that. Definitely. So, folks are probably wondering, especially with the profiles, like, Professor, are you seriously gonna bitch about Clone Wars again?
Yes.
And you'll be happy to know.
I thought you were going to say, are you going to seriously get to a subject at all tonight?
You came to my channel. You know what I'm about. You know what's going to happen. But I will say, I don't think we're going to start off with that because Clone Wars and the season 7 debacle stuff is just a drop in the bucket of what's going on at Disney right now. Troy's been sending me the Midnight Edge videos. And
they've had an interesting week.
Yeah, haven't they? Which, no different than usual nowadays.
So there's really no sense in getting too in-depth into the details here. If everyone doesn't already know, there's a ton of channels already covering it, from Midnight's Edge to Mr. H to Mecha Random. But apparently Kathleen Kennedy is playing I have no other power, so I'm going to go over the head of the Bobs and go right to the media and the public. And in order to get anything done, I'm going to say, I am doing this thing and release it as though it was official holy writ from Disney and get everyone excited about it and then force Disney's hand on stuff.
Well, it was conniving too. Like, it was supposed to just be an announcement for something that's in development, but they worded it and made it look like it was a press release for something absolutely coming, right?
Yeah.
Well,
and it's something absolutely nobody really wants to see.
It's actually worse than that, Professor. One of the things we haven't talked about behind the scenes is that this hiring of this, I forget her name, but she used to be an assistant to Harvey Weinstein, which has Disney going, wait, what?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That in and of itself brings all of that baggage that they don't want to cover.
Not only baggage, but there's still possible legal ramifications for
Disney
her.
does not want to deal with that. But think about this. Disney is in a bad situation just in terms of hiring. They're furloughing people. They're letting people go. There is no hiring happening at Disney. Mm-hmm. So to make this announcement that she's just been hired looks terrible for Disney. Disney, right off the bat, that's a huge problem. Then
And her
go ahead.
and the Bobs are pissed.
Well, the Bobs are pissed because of personal feelings. What does a female-centric series look like? We'll get to that, Agent Boomer. But thank you for the $5.
I definitely have an idea on that one. I know exactly the series I want to see.
Let's hold off on that question. We'll definitely come back to that. But the Bobs are pissed on a personal level because there is that egg on the face. Hey, wait a minute. This is our show, and you're, kind of doing the end. You don't do an end run around somebody like that. That is really, really bad. But I understand Kathleen Kennedy has absolutely no talent on her own. Let me preface this with, all the opinions stated by Troy and the Klingon Carrick do not necessarily reflect the Professor Geek show.
I'm pretty good with that statement, actually. So,
but personal opinion, she has absolutely no talent of her own. She would not have gotten to where she is without riding the coattails of Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. Mm-hmm. She was given a job based on a misconception that she actually did something other than go get coffee for these guys. And now she's been marginalized because they've realized how badly she has effed up.
Yep.
Okay. She has no power and she is just meant to sit and ride out her contract. And once she realized that, she decided the only way she could get something done was this underhandedly going to the press and, apparently forcing the hand of Disney. Now, what's going to happen with that? I don't know. Nobody knows. But really, as Nanette has... Go ahead.
I do know one thing that I heard Disney responded to, and that was they upped the release date on Disney Plus of Rise of Skywalker. Do
you really think that's related, though?
I think there's something they wanted to get some other news out there. And that was the only thing they really had in their quiver at the moment.
I think that's a secondary bonus, but I think they were planning to do that anyway because they need to make whatever money they can.
Yeah, they upped the date on it.
Off of that failure of a movie.
But quite frankly, it's a brilliant day to release that film on Disney Plus. No matter what you think about it, it's still Star Wars.
Well earned $5 there. Oh, okay. I'll read it so you don't have to, Professor.
Okay.
Since Stephen Cruz isn't here to say it, her last name is Headland, and she worked for Harvey Weinstein. I'll be honest with you. When I saw that, I thought the exact same thing. I didn't make the connection to her name, but Lewinsky. But
would you really want that doing that? Just saying.
Well,
there's some pictures.
I mean,
there's some. Yeah, true. Well, yeah, true. But sometimes power. God knows what he's actually been able to do.
It's one thing to let a comment like that come in. It's kind of funny, it's a little racy, but then it slips out. Al says, "No, hang on. Let's all make a mental picture."
Yeah. But then again, I've seen pictures of Headland when she first started working for Harvey Weinstein. I'm kind of thinking, well,
okay, yeah, but unfortunately, she's kind of morphed into the guy from Beetlejuice. The weird designer guy.
I saw a meme,
like the female version of that. I'm just simply commenting on the one picture that kind of wasn't very flattering, that kind of made her look like that guy. I can't remember his name.
I saw a meme of Ryan Johnson and her, and it said, lose the beard, put on a pair of glasses, basically. And I'm like, yep. I can kind of see it. Yep, I can kind of see it, to be honest with you. But but getting back to it, I think that the whole releasing of the Rise of Palpatine was going to happen anyway. They were looking for something to do to first. They need to boost their revenue on let's call it what it is. They're failed sequels. They really are. Everything in all business news is coming out and saying that the movie's underperformed. the merchandise is not selling at all. It was killing the parks before the CV thing happened. So the only thing they could possibly do is put it out on their streaming service and try to bolster their streaming service. Maybe, they're not even really getting DVD sales. So it's not a loss that they're taking. They had to get it out as soon as possible. And if they can do it with May the 4th, so much the better. But you're right. The secondary benefit is kind of steer them away from looking at the news about this Headland situation.
Yeah.
Also, you go ahead.
Because it's a nightmare of public relations right now for them. It's just I mean, Dumpster Fire doesn't even start to cover this. This is a towering inferno.
This is a city dump fire, is what it really is. No, and the other thing is that I have no idea what the other thing was. I completely lost my train of thought. But ultimately, they have a long history of whenever there's an announcement that doesn't go over well for a project that isn't really going to happen, what do? They just let it die. Mm-hmm. And I think that Disney's going to follow the same track that they always have. You're just not going to hear anything about it. Remember, this was not an official announcement. Mm-hmm. So there's not going to be an official announcement. And it's just going to be like Rian Johnson's trilogy. They're never going to comment on it. Mm-hmm. And people will keep bringing it up from time to time, and Disney will never, ever say anything about it. And then pretty much people will start going, well, this is not happening, so forget about that.
And then hopefully when someone's contract is up, they disappear.
Well, that'd be great if that both her disappearing and if that never happened. But there's a couple of things about this. For one, I don't really feel sorry for Bob Iger at all, because he's pretty underhanded anyway. And dude, you kept her there. You knew what you're getting into. But I'm trying to think, what is her line of reasoning here? Now, on the one hand, it's the pride. Like you were saying before, obviously, my movies came out. Now they're trying to shaft me, over here and in Mandalorian. That's all what anybody's talking about. Well, I'm just going to go the same Mandalorian route and put one of my agenda-driven shows right on Disney Plus. Sweetheart, no one likes your crap. No one.
She doesn't care. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I have heard a lot of commentary on it, and I think, believe it or not, I think the one who's got it pegged the best is Critical Drinker. He basically has a theory that her whole plan was to ride the coattails of Spielberg and Lucas, get into this position. She was given the reins of Lucasfilm because George thought, okay, I've got an ally here. And she's like, F you, I am a crusader and this is my opportunity. And she made it. Yeah, and she made it all about her crusade. Disney was like, "Oh crap! Yeah, we want to be a little bit woke, but we don't want this. We don't want to drive people away." Too late. And it's all about her legacy and her mission. And now she knows she's on her way out, so she wants to bring someone in that is all about the mission as well. And Disney's going, "No, we're not going there again." So I don't know where it stands right now. I don't know if there's actually a contract signed with this Headland person or not. I hope for Disney's sake and for my stock in the company that it's not, but who knows? At this point, I think that the commentator that I want to reference is my wife, Minette, who had an excellent insight. She's like, well, because everyone is saying how Iger has aspirations of political office. And so apparently he doesn't want to tick off anybody on the left side of the aisle. So that's why he's treating everything with kid gloves. And Nanette says, but the way you become a political leader is to take decisive action and not be afraid to say, you know what? I'm all about women's rights. I'm all about, this issue and that issue and so on and so forth. But I'm also about leading this company and just calling it the way it is. Yes, I want more female leadership and representation, but they have to perform. And if they don't perform, they're gone. It's kind of hard to argue with that, even for a feminist. I'm starting to hear more and more female feminists coming out and saying, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to succeed because I'm a token. I don't want representation because we've made men less than, because that doesn't look good for us. And I don't want a female-led anything that fails, because that in turn ends up hurting more than helping the cause.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody, if a self-proclaimed feminist actually said that, I can't imagine the feminist machine not booting them out very shortly thereafter.
Because we're talking about the true second wave feminists who are kind of marginalized by the third and fourth wave feminists now. But they are, because the second wave feminists are the majority of women out there, and men. I think all of us on this panel would agree with most of the things that second wave feminists say. I do. I don't call myself a, in quotes, ally. I just believe that women are human beings that happen to be of another gender. I want them to get equal pay. And guess what? Legally, they have to. And if they can do the same job as me or better, then they deserve better pay. And I'm totally good with that. But if they don't deserve more pay just because of their genitalia.
All right, I'm gonna launch into something here, Al, but you go ahead. And I think you were gonna say something.
Sorry, I got way too political. I apologize. This is your show. You need to shut me down a lot sooner on these things, man.
Yeah, this wave of feminism, Kathleen Kennedy's got, it's actually becoming a tsunami. But it really, I mean, I will give Kathleen Kennedy one compliment. She has got some Death Star sized balls to have pulled this, because she literally was, like I said, she's tried to call, almost like called their bluff, and she's like, well, you don't want to talk about it. Well, I'll talk about it, and we'll get. Her only problem is they're talking about something nobody wants. And it's getting some play in the media. I think this will die down once there's actually nothing that really comes about from it. Because I think Disney's starting to learn. Kathleen Kennedy's not, but everybody else is. Like I said, Jon Favreau, you bring someone like that in, he's actually got a clue as to what's going on. Sure, you have to bring in some strong feminine characters. That's fine. The world has strong feminine characters in it.
Yep.
You just can't come out and say, we're going to do a feminist Star Wars show. And nobody's watching already, and you don't even have a show yet. Already the ratings suck. But that's pretty much all I have to really say.
So to exactly what you said, I would say it's less having big balls than it is having nothing to lose. She literally has nothing to lose.
But it was a big ball move, though. That was
She's on her way out anyway. She's not getting her time.
She announced a freaking TV series that doesn't even exist, or what?
Absolutely,
no one even knows about.
She is like a lame duck president. You have nothing to lose. You can't run for re-election, so you may as well just throw a Hail Mary and let the chips fall where they may, because she doesn't give a flying fig. At the worst, it's a thermal detonator she's throwing into Disney and saying bye-bye.
I say the day she leaves, like the last day of the contract, whenever that happens, and hopefully it will be, hopefully it'll be sooner, but hopefully that day should be declared Star Wars Day 2.
That'd be nice,
right? Wouldn't it be awesome if it just happened to fall on May the 4th?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I mean, it's a
Fall
1 in
of the Empire.
365%, 365 chance, but who knows?
Quattro de Mayo.
Well,
Oh,
I've got 2 points to make about this. So the first thing is let's say that this season or this show did come to fruition. It wouldn't be popular. It wouldn't even remotely touch the popularity that The Mandalorian is garnered. We know that. You just know that because right away, first things first, and all the showrunners want to put out there talk about their agenda. No one cares about the storytelling. It's just agenda as usual, business as usual there. So you might think, well, how can they think that's going to help their cause? But the thing is, they don't think about it like that. They don't have the logical reasoning to know that, wait a minute, this is a low quality story. This is a low quality movie. They don't get, no, it's the fans' fault. It's the toxic men out there who won't support it, who are making all their evil YouTube videos and blah, 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 blah. It's their fault. It's not our fault. It can't be our fault. It can't be our fault because we're on the side of the angels and we're the good guys and everybody who disagrees with us is bad guys. So that's the one thing. That's how they think.
Yep.
The second thing, the Star Wars expanded universe, so just Star Wars we've had thus far, not even thinking about the books or expanded universe, just Star Wars we've had, there's no shortage of strong, powerful women and representation there. The expanded universe is just a menagerie of incredibly strong, well-developed, three-dimensional women characters all over the place. And yet they've got to think, well, no, we need to come in and be the ones who are now bringing this to the franchise. We've got to be the ones who are doing this. And people don't understand that that's what they're going to do with anything. That's why, we can say, heaven help them if they ever decide to put Mara Jade in a movie. It will not be anything like the Mara Jade we know from the books. It will be the Kathleen Kennedy-ized Mara Jade. It'll be all of that. And this is, people just don't want to, they don't, like I said in my stream the other day, it's hard for people to lose their heroes. They don't want to talk about it, but this is what's happening with Ahsoka Tano. And the usual suspects are embracing her now. She's the one. She's the best character ever. She's the bestest. It makes perfect sense for her to do everything she's doing in the season. She rocks. She's awesome. I'm sorry, I said Ahsoka Tano. I meant to say she whom thou shalt not criticize, because that's how we refer to her now, because heaven help you if you talk about her on Twitter or point out the flaws, the swarm of her white knights will descend upon thee and have at thee for a week on end.
You mean Mary Sue Ray?
Mary Sue, yeah. Mary Ahsoka Tano. Mary Ahsoka Ray Tano, I think is what I called her.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. It's ridiculous. And this was a recent article. And you said, well, that's just one article. Come on. Maybe. No, this was there's a ton of them out here. I just found two, just a quick Google. This one was is that the same one I just put out? That's the same one. Mm-hmm. This is the one I want. Shoot. Sorry, talking and trying to do something at the same time. This is from February, little ways ago, but still talking about the then upcoming season 7 from the Nerdist here. She's the best. She's the best character in Star Wars. She's the most developed. She's had the most Jedi. Blah blah blah. And now Ahsoka in the series of Clone Wars, she was crazy annoying but necessary at first. Okay, that's the kind of Padawan that Anakin should have. That was fine. About halfway through the series, she grew up a little bit. She wasn't so annoying anymore. Okay, she became regular character. She still had, I would argue, too much screen time because Dave Filoni just has a thing for her. But you're fine. But now that they've brought her back, now that they're doing stories again, they're going back and revisiting and rewriting to make them better, as Dave Filoni says. They're approaching her and the stories now with this new agenda that has to infuse everything. And no matter whose feet you want to lay that at, it's there. You can't deny it. And this is what, she's become now. And this is what's what's more detrimental to Star Wars than Kathleen Kennedy, doing another show or doing another thing like that, is so-called Star Wars. How do I say this? Because I mean it, but I don't want to sound. People who claim to be all about Star Wars. They're all about Star Wars. Well, that's a separate topic. Let me get to that. People who are Star Wars fans who are just more than willing to concess, to grant this little concession, grant this little, and compromise here and compromise there. And well, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I can kind of see if you imagine, probably what they were thinking in the character's head was blah, blah, blah. And maybe this is something they would have talked about before. And maybe you shouldn't have to do that. It's bad writing. It's hard to lose your heroes. It's hard to see the characters you loved portrayed, suddenly get the crap treatment. I get it, but buck up and be a man and accept it. Stop pretending that everything's fine. So we see that there. The other side thing I was going to say about the extended universe and stuff is I think I've said this somewhat before. I don't say this as I am just biting off the extended universe, right? I'm in the Old Republic's era right now. I'm nothing like an expert on the whole thing, but it's so amazing what little bit I've read already, and then I'm going into it and everything, and that it's so true to the original trilogy spirit. So I don't understand, because as soon as I decided Star Wars is something I really did enjoy, as soon as I decided this is something I'd really like to spend more time with, Disney's not giving me anything worthy of spending time with there. I jumped into the EU, and I just don't understand at all the people who are really truly, they seem so truly bothered by what Disney's doing to Star Wars. They make videos about it, they rant about it, and you ask them the first question about the EU anything, and they just kind of clam up. Or they just, pretend that one book they read that one time, qualifies. And is it just because you can't handle reading a book? Or is it because you just really, truly want the story spoon-fed to you over a screen? I mean, screens are great, movies are great, but I just don't understand. All of that lore is there. It's there. You could be championing it. You could be enjoying it. You could have a whole wealth of Star Wars before you. Well, if it's not a new season on a streaming service, then I just don't see the point. Then you don't really feel that strongly about what's going on with Star Wars. I mean, you can not like it, but if you're as passionate about it as you claim to be, you would get off your butt and crack open a book,
So, I mean, you and I have had a bit of debate about this, but I don't think we disagree near as much as it might seem when we're talking in chat. But I will say that although I have not read this particular article, as I read through the headings as you were going through it, taking them at face value, I can kind of see it. I mean, there's a huge difference between Ahsoka and Rey. Okay. Rey is the bestest ever, and she did not earn it because we never saw it. Ahsoka, you could at least say she's gone on a hero's journey. She started out as a little biatch that, and I don't know this because I haven't gotten that far but from things you've said, sounds like she goes through some humbling, goes through some development, kind of earns her stripes, walks away from the Jedi path to come back to it later. There's still some story there. There's still some development happening. I want to tie this into Leia Plus Size said, I believe women should be respected, but you don't have to cut off men's balls to do it. You also don't have to cut breasts to be strong women. I love what she said. And for those of you that listened last week to on Katie's channel, Orville Nation had set up the little Doctor Who debate. The one person who was really championing the whole, love for the new Doctor, she seemed to kind of agree with the other side when it was pointed out, not by me, but by someone else, that the way things have gone over at the BBC was we're putting all these women in charge. We're firing all these men and putting in female writers, and we're having a female doctor, and everything's going to be female. And she was like, yeah, I don't like that. I didn't know that. And that's a problem because, and she was the one that I was referring to when she said, if things tank and the ratings drop as they apparently have, that makes women look bad and women fail, and it doesn't help the cause at all. And I was like, hey, score one for our side. but I don't mean that. I don't mean that in the adversarial way that it sounds. I really mean that score one for the critical thinking, because it's true. This is why everyone is so upset about about Rey. She is the bestest ever without having earned it. That story isn't there. And is that really what the feminists want? Is that the inspiration you want to present to women? Because that's not what men have had all along. Men have had the inspiration of seeing that to be a hero takes work. It's something to be to strive for, and it's going to take sacrifice, to get to be the Superman, the Batman, the whatever it is that inspires you, the Luke Skywalker. You have to really sacrifice. We don't want to give the impression to a generation of women, you know what? Because you're a woman, you're awesome, and everything's going to be awesome for you because you're awesome. That is just setting them up for failure.
I'm always on the guard, though, from these little insidious tactics that they use. And because you're talking about really it's just a matter of are you telling good story? Because just good writing period means that if you have a woman character in the story, she should be a 3D character just like everybody else, unless she's not, unless she's just sort of in the story a little bit for this, angle or whatever, unless she's a main character, she should be three-dimensional and fleshed out. That's just good writing. This is good storytelling period. And that's happened. I'm reading Fatal Alliance right now, and I'm shocked at how I got to thinking about it. And I was like, a heavy theme in that book, it's an Old Republic book, is the matriarchal lineage, and that kind of family or authority coming through a sort of a motherly or a woman's place. But it's not like nothing's beating you over the head with it. It's not anti-men to say that, right. And it's just a wonderfully told story. Well, they can't have that because they need it. They don't just want it to be a good story. They don't care about the story at all. They need it to be a message. It goes back to they don't want characters. They want symbols. They don't want stories. They want propaganda pieces. They want these things that they can, post about on Twitter and gain their virtue points or whatever. And because they're doing that now, this is that insidious tactic. And Clone Wars is one of them. They've learned now. They've learned. I think they thought Force Awakens was going back and hitting some enough nostalgia points for them to be able to basically do whatever they wanted to. Well, people were, it wasn't as much as when Last Jedi came out, obviously, but even with Force Awakens, people were calling out the Mary Sue-ness of Rey a bit. Right. It's certainly grown since then. But with Mandalorian, when Jon Favreau was able to pull that off, that told Disney, oh, we've got to be a little bit more on the a little bit more bold with that. We really have to, show them and pretend that we really are carrying it going back. And, so you had a season 1 that was pretty solid, but the thing is they're going, like, now we know this Ahsoka Tano, this very Ahsoka Tano, who was, a fine, no real horrible things about her in the old series. She's getting this treatment now. She's getting this treatment because she's in the hands of storytellers who are abiding by these new sets of rules, and people are just turning a blind eye to it. And then this is the Ahsoka Tano that's going to be in Mandalorian season 2. And, I don't doubt it at all for them to try and, scrape out another couple characters from the EU or something and just show them up on the screen completely out of context or whatever. They are that insidious. Like, I don't buy that. Oh, well, they get it now. It's okay.
Well, see, and this is where I have to say, I don't know. I kind of have to defer because I haven't gotten that far. But
sure. Yeah.
My thought is, at least with Ahsoka, we have a character progression. I don't know what that is yet. I certainly haven't gotten to season 7 to see the things that you're having a problem with. Heck, I haven't even gotten out of the first season. I only know enough to know she starts out one place. She grows as a character. At least we've got that. My hope is that if you're going to paint her as, again, the bestest ever, she earns it. That by that season 7, by the time we get to Mandalorian, if she is some sort of a great hero character, you can say, well, look, we've had all this time for her to develop and go through loss and learn lessons, and she's earned where she is, just like we had hoped for Luke Skywalker.
Well, that's one thing. Go ahead, Al.
So some of her, and also remember Rebels had her to an extent in it as well. So there's
Yeah,
that part of the history.
Deus Ex
But-
Machina.
Yeah, but you are well. No, it worked out fine in Rebels. You're talking about Matt.
Rebels was good.
Yeah, well, I'll say I don't know the last season. Let's say so. I haven't seen it
I
yet.
haven't seen it, so I don't know nothing.
Hey, now you can't on my new big screen TV. But you're talking about Mandalorian. I just like how you're already like in dread mode for the next season of Mandalorian.
In fairness, though, think about where we've all been. I mean,
Yeah,
him and me and
okay,
Fan, we've all been burned so many times. We're at the point where it's, yeah, maybe we hope for the best. Maybe we think we pray the way to see it like Al, but the reality is we've been burned so many times, we really expect the worst at this point.
You need Big Al's Super 200 sunscreen.
Here's the thing about Mandalorian.
It doesn't protect us though when the nuclear bomb goes off.
Even if Jon
you need
Favreau
400 for that.
Even if Favreau doesn't allow any of that, Mary Sue nonsense, with her character, even if she's portrayed just fine in season 2, the fact is that's still the continuity. That's still the Mary Sue Ahsoka who was. This is Dave Filoni. He's part of both of them, so he's bringing that character over, and we now know that Dave Filoni whatever reasoning you want to throw out there for him doing it, he's capable of pushing this agenda and has pushed it years ago. In fact, it's not just something he's doing now, with the talks and things that are coming out. So this is the same person who's also involved. We keep mentioning Favreau, but good old Filoni's in there too. And this is his baby, his character, his creation that he likes to, protect and everything. Even if her part in the story is told and is fine and there's none of that nonsense in it, it's a matter of the continuity. It's a matter of you're affirming, you're kind of placing your stamp on, okay, well, we'll let all that other stuff pass because she was done well in this one. And I know Al just cares if he can be happy in the moment. So that's fine with you. But I like a long story continuity. I like things to make sense. I like things to work out as a whole,
Hey, I'm so glad I am me.
I want to pull in a few of the comments from the stream. We're going way back here, but Casey Scott said Disney is going to renew her contract. I believe he means Kathleen Kennedy. They're too afraid of Me Too. Casey Scott, I'm sorry, but I really do have to disagree with you. And this isn't just me pulling an Al on you. I think it's just reality. They are done with her. They gave her one extension and marginalized her with the expectation that they were not going to be renewing her again. And that's why she's as emboldened as she is. She has nothing to lose. She knows she's not getting renewed. I said it a long time ago, and it's becoming more and more true. Disney, for all their failings, for all that they may want to encode messages and push an agenda, they cannot do that if they go bankrupt. They are not too big to fail. They can coast longer than any other company, but they are at the point where they must answer to the stockholders. And they have lost so much money in the past couple years. They have got to start making money again if they're even able to continue to push any kind of agendas. So that means this kind of heavy-handed Kathleen Kennedy messaging has got to end. She is on her way out. It's like I said a long time ago, it's like the Titanic. It's a big ship with a tiny, tiny pin. It takes a lot of effort and a long time to turn that ship. And it's taking a lot longer than I thought it would, but it is happening.
I know you keep saying that. And I mean, the fact is, ultimately, we don't know. I mean, maybe you're right, but I don't. The evidence I keep seeing, I can't find Casey Scott's comment. I was going to check it out for myself.
It's way up there.
Okay, yeah, probably left my stream there. But you think about it. Okay, well, they downplayed or kind of shunned Kathleen Kennedy, kind of got her out of the spotlight, but they didn't fire her. and they extended her contract. And, you know, so you can say, well, maybe they were just kind of wanting, you know, they're trying to extend or whatever. But then Bob Iger, you know, he deserved to have gotten out of there because look at what he presided over, you know, he's out of there, but then he pops right back in, you know, and it's just like every time there's one step forward, there's two steps back. You know, and it's like, it's kind of hard for me to, I mean, you might be right in the end. We'll see, but it's kind of hard for me to see the Titanic even slowly turning.
No, I see what you're saying. And let me speak to it because I can address that. It goes back to what Nanette said. There is this idea of the businessman and the politician saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to extend her contract and we're going to marginalize her. And there's this expectation, a naive expectation, that by marginalizing her and not giving her any authority within her role, you know, we're just going to pay you to do nothing. You're just going to sit there and be a spokesperson and a figurehead, and that's it. He had no idea she was going to come and pull something like this. Now, that's stupid and naive, but it's what he did. And all I can say is I hope that people remember this when it comes time to vote for him. Just saying. But be that as it may, that's where he's thinking. You've got to think the corporate mentality. They're hoping for the best of both worlds. And what happens? It's kind of like Mr. Miyagi said. You know, you walk on the left side, you're safe. You walk on the right side, you're safe. You walk down the middle, sooner or later, like a grape. And he keeps trying to walk down the middle.
What world is his head in where he thinks he will have a chance at politics in any kind of significant way?
A post-Trump world. There's a lot of people that look at Trump's win and say, hey, if he can do it, I can do it too. If this you know, businessman reality star can be president, then the head of Disney can be president too, right?
Yeah, I don't see that happening second time. I mean, that was kind of a lot of factors, but yeah, I mean, I'd say that's why they're thinking. Yeah,
that's what they're thinking. I'm not, whether that's true or not, I have nothing to say about that. But I did want to answer another question from the gallery. Sound Engraver said, "What is bestest ever? Don't even paragons go through conflict?" Okay, so Sound Engraver, I know that you're not as keyed in with the lingo of the how would you put it, the YouTubery or whatever, but it was a phrase brought up. I guess it was popularized by Doomcock. There's this idea of not a paragon. Don't be confused by the paragon, but the Mary Sue, the character who is the bestest ever is somebody who is given everything, has the powers of the paragon, has no character flaws, is just uninteresting from the point of view of storytelling. Someone like Rey in Star Wars, someone like Wesley Crusher in Star Trek, someone like a character, an author character in bad fan fiction. That's what the bestest ever is.
It's another name for either Mary Sue's or Gary Stu's.
Or Gary Stu. Gary Stu would be the male equivalent of a Mary Sue, exactly.
Did it really? Sorry, I'm just focused on the fact that Troy created a new word called YouTubery.
That's what happens when you drink enough blood wine.
I
start making up words.
Just yeah.
You knew what I meant. What's the difference?
Oh no, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. No. I'm trying to formulate my next thought here because I know I keep talking about the EU. I know it's kind of my thing now. I know I'm all excited about
because
it.
It's freaking awesome.
It is, and the fact that people, I think if more people were willing to really embrace a fandom that they claim to love, they would be a little bit more outraged by this because
in fairness, though, you are part of a community that totally agrees with you. You belong to these boards that are supporting the EU. They've all read it. I have seen the memes of people holding up their copies of Heir to the Empire saying my sequel trilogy and things like that. So, I mean, it's out there.
Yeah, I just don't know why I can't break out into the more mainstream, and it's because it's just because like I've seen YouTubers and I talk to people in real life and they're so mad about the Disney stuff and whatever, and I'm like, oh well, you really should check out this. Yeah, I'll check out this sometime. Yeah.
Well, it's hard too because there is so much out there. I mean, that's why I haven't really been pushing you to start consuming all of the pre-EU stuff that I've mentioned to you before.
Sure.
In fact, I was all ready to get you a copy of the collected comics.
The Marvel stuff. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I actually had it. I saw that my local comic book shop had it, I was going to have them put it aside. And then CV happened, and then we lost our jobs. And it's like, okay.
So it's nice of you.
No, it's still a future plan because I would love for you to be able to read some of that so that I have someone that I can share with. There's one of my favorite, some of my favorite EU characters have come out of that Marvel comics that you may have heard about that have been used in some places like Lady Lumia, who was another apprentice of Darth Vader's in the Marvel storylines, who was kind of a proto Mara Jade character. I think you would love this character. I have always dreamed. When they were first talking about the Disney sequel trilogy, I had hoped that they would. I knew they weren't going to go with any EU directly. I knew they weren't going to directly adapt Heir to the Empire. I knew they weren't going to draw off of Marvel Comics, but I had hoped that they would create like a composite character of Mara Jade and Lady Lumia. That would have been so cool. And of course, again, I'm more upset about the lost opportunities than I am about how badly things turned out.
Yeah. I'm going to. Oh, go ahead, Al.
You know who my favorite EU character is? Captain Pelion.
Really?
That is not a bad choice.
He's a well-written character.
I like him.
Not being a part of your Thursday night thing. The one thing I do want to say about Pelion is that is the way to do an author character or a reader character. Somebody who is not a Mary Sue, but someone that you could totally relate to, who isn't the bestest ever, but certainly has that potential because he is in the supporting role. He's not the Grand Admiral Thrawn, but he's learning from it.
Absolutely.
I just hope that on Thursday night, I hope I remember to share what my favorite scene in the entire book series so far has been. I really liked it. I'll save it for Thursday though.
Okay, I'll remind you if you forget. I'll remind you. I'm seeing some people in the chat. Casey Scott saying, he's a noob at the EU. Me too. And no shame in that at all. I'm trying to find stupid Facebook. Yes, it's me. Go ahead. Come on.
It's www.facebook.com.
Sound Engraver.
Sorry.
Sound Engraver says the professor and Al have a villain crush on Thrawn.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Oh my gosh! The thing that really endeared me to Thrawn was it was in Heir to the Empire when somebody screws up, and it's very clear that it's a situation where if it was Darth Vader, that person would be dead.
Yeah.
And Thrawn talks it through with him and says, "What did you do wrong?" And the guy says it, and he says, "And would you make that mistake again?" "No, sir." "Okay, then you've learned something." And then when he doesn't kill him, he goes, "What, did you think I was going to kill you? I'm not Darth Vader." You can't learn something if you're dead. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but it was that kind of a thing. And I'm like, I like this guy. Now, he is absolutely ruthless because he is totally capable of killing someone who hasn't learned their lesson. But he can forgive once. And I like that about him. That's a good villain character.
I'm trying to show up because I totally understand, because I felt this for a long time too. And it did stop me around a week or so getting is involved and really delving into the EU as I wanted to. I tried to show this. We showed the Facebook page before. Our friend Alex, I don't know if he's here tonight. He drops in sometimes, but he started this Facebook group. That's one of the resources. Then of course Matt Wilkins on the expandeduniverse.com. That's another resource. But here's the link again in the chat for this Facebook group, and then I'm going to share a page. Now, if you go to that Facebook group, if you join the group, Alex has actually put together a spreadsheet, and he hasn't completed the whole thing yet, but this is what I've been using because it is a little daunting. What do you read first? Now, I mean, you don't have to go back to the very, very beginning of continuity like I did, but you can, you can jump in wherever you want, but it's good to know what's good jumping on points. If you're going to read this series, what are things you really should read over here? Are you going to run into things like Clone Wars that are all out of order anyway? It can be daunting. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the link. You can join that group if you want. Click join on that group if you're interested in the EU. And I'm going to share this. Do I have it open? Yeah, I do. All right. So this is the spreadsheet that he put together, which is really freaking phenomenal. I'm just going to share just a little bit of it. But if you go to that group, if you join that group, once you're allowed to join, over on the right hand, there's a link to this spreadsheet, so you can actually go grab it yourself. Tell
him Professor Geek sent you, and then cause all kinds of havoc.
But see, it's color coded too. So like you've got the books are in the purple. The YouTube videos. This guy actually links to certain videos.
Nice. Yeah.
He even goes through and he's got like there's a shared drive for some of our links to the Old Republic website where some of the little short stories are written. They kind of are part of the interconnectivity and everything like that. I mean, it's great. So I'm right. Where am I? I'm right here. The Last Fatal Alliance.
Is that the same webpage that I've shared the links for the role-playing game books with you? Or is that something completely different? It may be.
Maybe. I don't know. I knew you sent those to me through a messenger. I didn't know you.
I did. And then I saw that they had some of the same links as this group. And I was wondering if there was an affiliation, but I didn't look into it too closely.
Yeah, there's a couple of different groups out there. But no, I mean, and it's a really great resource. And yeah, as they call them, the Legends books now do have the books in order at the beginning of each one, but that doesn't have all the interconnective tissue and everything like that. So it's a resource out there if people are interested, and I do recommend it. And then, like I said, the expandeduniverse.com too, which is featuring my reviews. The review of the Dawn of Justice comics just went up, and I was going to record my Tales of the Jedi, Kevin J. Anderson's Tales of the Jedi arc the other night, that review, but I need to do so this week as my midterm essays and all that kind of, our midterm exam, the final essays, exams, and all that kind of stuff too. So I need to get that done, but that's happening.
So you were just talking about the Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Jedi is the Old Republic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, because Auditor Dredd was just talking about the new Jedi Order, and I was telling him I kind of got away from the EU at about that point, and I guess I stepped away too soon because he was saying that Lady Lumia, who I was talking about from the Marvel storylines, appears in that new Jedi Order series of books.
And I'm definitely going to get to those. That's part of my reading material too. So, I that's what's so much fun. I've got this whole world of Star Wars to still delve into,
So the thing is, like I said, you're missing out on, but eventually you may come around to, because I know Big Al knows about like Splinter of the Mind's Eye and the original Han Solo trilogy, the original Lando trilogy. Like I said, there was that Marvel storyline that literally kept Star Wars alive between Empire and Jedi. Some really, really great stuff in there. That's where that story of Lady Lumia comes from. And I've been seeing some really great custom action figures people put up. And
cool.
and I'll see these action figures and I'll go, oh, I know that character, and people will be like,
I'll be right back.
who is that? And I'll be like, oh, that's so-and-so, or that's so-and-so. And we'll just all like geek out, and people will start doing this whole showing the figures that they make, and then the custom card backs that they're doing. Gosh, I promise I will do a video when I actually have a couple things done and I can put them on card backs. I will be doing some videos so I can show you guys some of the stuff I'm working on.
Professor, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I know you got a Darth Revan figure.
Yeah.
Do you have Darth Revan's lightsaber?
I do not. That was like $125.
What? Because I want to say this. I had a dream where you were on the stream showing everybody your Darth Revan lightsaber.
That would be freaking awesome, but no, I can't afford that. That would be awesome. You need to stop dreaming about me showing people my lightsaber, though. But
God.
I've got a bunch of these. I try to pick them up every time I go to a con.
Dude, the one you are showing in front is the last issue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You're bringing back some great memories.
Now, to be fair, that's actually a reprint that I got. No, is it? No, it's not a reprint, is it?
I wouldn't know the difference.
I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I want to delve into that. But I jumped a little bit to the Old Republic because I wanted to hurry up and get to the Old Republic game. And I don't know if you guys saw my message in our message thread, because Al just jumps in and shares a meme and doesn't even acknowledge anything I put in there.
I know. You'll mention something about the Old Republic, and I'll share a link to a source book or something from the role playing game, and suddenly there's Poison Ivy's feet.
I know exactly.
Okay. To be fair,
oh, here we go.
I was on Twitter and saw it and thought, "Oh, gee,
I gotta share this with these guys
to show these guys just as a joke."
So
this forbid I interrupt you two in your little, your little talk about the role playing game.
This is my Jedi Guardian from the Old Republic. I just started. I think as far as games go, I think I sort of got a good likeness there. As far as I mean, he's idealized, of course, but I think it's not too bad. So that's what I put in there. And then let me find Al's. What's that?
What's his name?
Odin from Odin who's a Old Republic Jedi that I really like, and then Skyfighter from one of the characters from the G.I. Jackrabbits. So that's I'm sitting here talking about this. There's all that, and then here's what Al. Sound Engraver, go ahead and close the computer because I know you don't like this kind of thing.
Just look away.
Just look away.
Al,
here's what Al says. No, we should talk about this kind of thing instead.
There was no way I couldn't show you guys this. There was no way that I couldn't show you guys that for just the fun. Did you not see underneath my little comment of hee hee?
We saw the hee hee.
Yeah. We know you thought it was funny, but we also know you thought it was something other than funny.
Yes, toe rings on too. You like that?
Yeah.
Did you see my comment though? What was the one thing I said about it?
What did you say?
My response is
he doesn't like Batman with stubble.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's just not appropriate.
I would be more worried about stubble on the feet and the legs personally, but that's me.
But it's natural.
Yeah,
no.
I think I made some comment about this being a problem for Batman.
Now,
and Al's like, "Well, I don't see the problem." Well, it would be a problem for Catwoman.
Okay. I'm getting stuff from it, and think this was supposed to be a fun little private joke between the three of us, but no,
this is
the professor brings it.
This is material that's just too good to pass up. No. We could not let this go. I understand why the professor brought this up.
Come on now, you give me live stream gold like that. I can't just ignore it, right?
You're the one who says this stuff, and after the stream, you're like, "Well, I had to because this was just gold. I have to push the envelope."
It was funny. I saw it. I'm like, oh, I have to show it because they'll just laugh out of it.
So speaking of having,
here we are. Speaking about it on office hours again, making me look like a pervert.
So Well, no. We don't have to work to make you look like a pervert. That's you do that just fine on your own. Let's be honest though. Let's be honest. If the professor and I were as open as Al is, you'd think we were perverts too, because we're men.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Please.
So-
I'm just long enough, Professor.
So
Don't even
he's a
try.
liar, okay? The professor's a liar, just so we know. I'm at least being honest. I'm not giving you details. I'm just being honest. So, speaking of having something to show, I was just talking about custom action figures and custom so on and so forth. Does anybody know what this is? What I've been working on?
It's a box.
Yeah. I'm going to be doing a video on this when I get it finished.
Is
A
there
lightsaber?
more? Is there going to be
No.
more to it?
There's definitely going to be more to it. It's got to be painted. It's going to have some things on top of it with some pipes coming off of it. Is
the cantina door the bar?
Cantina bar. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. I'm working on a cantina bar playset.
Awesome. That's really
Jeanette
cool.
wants me to show a little bit more context. This is the front of the bar, which I don't know how to show you on camera. But yeah, I am working on a 3 3/4 action figure scale of the cantina bar. Yep.
That's awesome.
No blasters! No blasters!
Exactly. And Nanette did a great job for years now. She's been getting me all the action figures, all the creatures. She got me Werher, who is the bartender, and the which comes with the droid detector and everything. And I'm thinking about putting some electronics in that.
We have now reached the "Oh, my wife is so wonderful" part of the show.
In fairness, she's sitting 5 feet away from me, and if I don't acknowledge her contribution,
She
kind
of is though. You know,
I kind of have to, I mean, let's face it. If you're as blessed,
Rub it in.
no, I'm not rubbing it in. If you are this blessed and you are not thankful and verbally thankful, you will be
it's true.
cursed.
It's very true.
Okay.
Well, unless you guys have anything else to say, maybe we'll take a little break from Star Wars for a second. To jump to something I put on the thumbnail because I kind of forgot about it when I was throwing that together. This isn't something I feel that we need to spend a lot of time on, unless you guys have some things to say about it or anything. But because of the whole quarantining and everything like that, everything is Hollywood wise is pushed back. Movies are getting pushed back,
Which may be a
everywhere.
good thing.
Yeah, for some of them. But I just saw this article the other day, and it just cracks me up. And I think it's kind of a desperate ploy to kind of keep everybody remembering the Batman, because you remember Matt Reeves, his and whether it originates from him or the PR person ultimately from the movie or whatever. I think it's mostly from him, though, I'd imagine, because he seems to be in a tight control over this. But he's been very just leaking out a little piece of information, stuff that he knows is going to make people upset, but then he'll just leak out a second little piece of information and not really worrying about connecting the dots. I think he was kind of gambling on or betting on the just the fact that it's in the news and people are talking about it would be a good thing. And then once the movie finally hits, none of that stuff would matter. People would just jump on board or whatever. But so the thing about Batman's armor, we would just get a little peek, or then the Batmobile and stuff like that. Well, now people are like, ooh, look, he's all lean. Well, that's something we haven't seen in a Batman before. This has been every Batman except for Zack Snyder's homoerotic Frankenstein, which he puts in all of his movies. That this has been, Mike from Keaton to Kilmer to, Christian Bale, none of them were big blocky, bulk monsters until Fat Man came along. So I just think it's kind of funny that the desperation to can we just put something about the Batman in the news, and like, ooh, look, he doesn't have big muscles. I just like, okay, that's
but we're still gonna put him in all
about.
kinds of freaking armor.
Yeah, exactly.
Prof, I'll be right back.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I know this isn't much to sink your teeth in.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're here. Are you okay?
I had disappeared for a few minutes, but I guess I didn't miss anything.
Well, I was going to ask you, I know this isn't a lot to sink our teeth into. I just thought it was funny, but you're the Batman guy, so I just didn't know if you I mean, what kind of Batman do you prefer? Do you think Batman needs to be bulked up? I know you like Adam West, a little soft all the way around.
100% pure West.
But in outside of that context,
ultimately, I think Batman should be, kind of like a linebacker. Maybe not too big, not thick, but like lean and mean fighting machine kind of thing.
Because he's got to be able to do all the flexible,
yeah, well muscled, or like I'm using sports terminology, like a safety. But
he should provide safety.
Yeah, not some overbuilt guy, but definitely well muscled. Now, I don't mind a leaner Batman in the early years, but I see a lean Robert Pattinson. I see Nightwing before I see Batman.
Yeah, true.
So, because you see Nightwing, and Nightwing's going to be smaller than Batman. Batman is bigger. Batman's got a more barrel of a chest.
Yeah.
He's not, a life, was it life, Lithe, life ninja. He's not that kind of a physique. He should be more of a boxer,
Yeah. I want to clarify too. Samantha Dragon says power physique equals homoerotic No, there's nothing about, a bodybuilder or anything like that. I'm talking about Snyder's obsession with the male form. And you look at his movies, he always likes to make sure they're ultra sculpted and chiseled and on display. And you can even get into a Freudian reading with him and actually see the hidden phalluses all throughout his movie. It's kind of ridiculous. That's what I was talking about, just his take on that.
Actually, I think, because I was trying to figure out, I think there's some wrestlers that would, like a wrestler physique would work well too. A lot of those guys who could do. I mean, if you ever seen, I know you have seen wrestlers do their thing in the ring, twisting, a lot of the acrobatic stuff that they're able to do, but they're also very powerful.
The other thing that bothers me about this article is that can we please, can Hollywood, can all of the news websites, can everybody please stop pretending that the only viable source material for a Batman movie is Frank Miller or The Long Halloween? Because The Long Halloween is amazing, but too many things have just been picked away from it. So you just need to get away from it, or either do it straight up as a loyal adaptation. But in this one, they're like, oh yeah, and he's got that physique. It's almost like Batman Year One. That's the only comic out there where Batman hasn't been super bulky. Like, did you read any of the Denny O'Neil, Len Wein stuff? Neil Adams and everything like that. I mean, this is, it's just like that Frank Miller guy. Yeah, he's the Batman guy. Maybe, it looks like the movie's going to take a little bit from that too. Other stories have been written about Batman, people.
Yeah, Brian Gilmartin. No, John Cena is too bulky to be Batman. For those who are into today's wrestling, maybe someone like Randy Orton type physique.
The kind of physique you're looking for, and I don't know who Randy Orton is, so I can't comment on that. But who's the British bloke that played Daredevil on Netflix?
Charlie Cox.
Oh yeah.
Someone who is very fit but not bulky.
Mm-hmm.
He that kind of things. And in fact, I hate to sound like Fan Man, but
Charlie Cox, I think, would be the smallest you'd want to go for Batman.
Yeah.
But at the risk of sounding like Fan Man, you think back to Michael Keaton. You don't want somebody who looks like a superhero when he's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I mean, you want somebody, and
those are rules that work in comics or cartoons because it's a different medium than live action. So you can suspend disbelief a little bit like that.
Well, especially when you have like the whole Supergirl from the 70s, Linda Lee, where she'd whip off the wig, and I mean, or then like in the late 70s, early 80s, when she went to the supersonic comb that would somehow change the dark hair to blonde hair. It just it was a goofy time where you could have goofy storylines. So you could have somebody who looked smaller and then looked. Even the explanation for why Clark Kent, looked smaller and thinner as Clark Kent and more buff as Superman.
Yeah.
It just.
But then you look at some of the one of the all-time great Batman portrayals, Michael Keaton.
Yep.
Not at all big, not at all lean. A lot of the appearance came from the sculpting on the suit.
Exactly, and that's what I was getting to, and that's where you start running into the whole armor thing. And that's really where the armor comes from is the movies. When you start taking a comic book character and translating them to the movies, you start going, we got to go from what worked in the comics to what works in real life. And the costume doesn't really work the way it does in the comics. So maybe we kind of changed we cover over a multitude of sins with armor and black instead of gray, form fitting,
I think too, with all these superhero movies, the filmmakers would do well to stop ignoring the fact that cosplayers have had this stuff down for a long time now. You're not the first one ever to bring this costume to live action. I mean, and cosplayers have to think about, practicality and movement as they're walking around cons with this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And quite frankly, most of the time cosplayers do it better.
Exactly.
So you guys know that I do a lot of cosplay, but I do very specific cosplay. I have a lot of friends in the community that do much more general cosplay, and there's one friend of ours who let's just say that in addition to being very popular in the cosplay community, she has branched out into a very adult community. And one of the things that she was talking about that she made me aware of is that there are parodies of the superhero stories.
Oh yeah.
That are actually doing the costumes better than what the news articles are doing.
Yeah, I've seen news articles about that. Apparently there's one guy I think that does a lot of them, and like he's known for like the costumes are just spot on. Yeah, I've heard about that.
And it's gotten to the point where some of the parodies, the adult parodies, actually have really good stories. There are sites out there that have put out edits of them that take out all of the adult content.
Minus the part, where it's like a 30-minute segue.
I kid you not. I am going to share with you guys the PG version of the Star Trek parody. It actually is a good story.
Which
and
one?
You're gonna the adult
I'll check his bookshelf.
No, I mean, but there's been several.
I don't know. I didn't know there was more than one, Al.
Al didn't either. He was just joking,
my friend.
But I mean, it's clear that the person who wrote it really knew the lore, because he's got the backstory of Tasha Yar and the backstory of Riker and Troy. And
I know. I think I know which one you're talking.
Oh my God, Al!
I'm looking at it right here.
I think it's the one where an actress named Kimberly Kane plays Crusher.
Got me. I have no idea. Who these actors are, but all I know, there's this great scene where the guy playing Picard goes to into his ready room towards the end of the story, and he opens up this box and he pulls out the flute from the episode
Arrow Light.
Yes. And it is, he doesn't play it, but he pulls it out and he just holds it for a moment. And it's like, man, this is, and I was thinking of this when I watched some of Picard. I was like, holy crap, these adult writers actually did a better story about Picard than CBS did.
Yeah, I think that's the one I've seen.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I imagine it's probably kind of like writers who get stuck in niche genres, for a paycheck, like people who keep, they just write the bodice rippers, like the romance novels and grocery stores and stuff like that. Every now and then I've heard, it was like Pulp Fiction. It happened with Pulp Fiction back in the 20s and 30s. You got really talented artists and writers who are a part of it, but that's just what they need to do to make a paycheck. And they can't help but to let some of their quality seep in. I imagine the same things for porn parodies. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I would have
like I said, there's a couple of X-File ones out there called the Sex Files. And and like I said, I've seen the unedited version, and it's like an X-Files episode. Seen the other part of it too, which is not.
So what you're really speaking to, Professor, is something that we've talked about before, and that's how storytelling is very universal. People respond to good stories regardless of whatever other content they're looking for. There's something to be said for that. It always elevates every medium, in my opinion.
Definitely. Did you guys have any more about this? Because I do want to jump to our other the orc topic.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Now I do have some.
Did you read that article?
Yeah, well, I heard about it the other day too, and I'm glad you reminded me because it slipped my mind.
Oh,
I was
okay.
putting together topics for tonight, so I'm glad you did. I've seen it on a couple different sites. I think you sent me the Bounding into Comics ones here, but
wait a minute before we go too far. Sir Torrin Clegane asks, does someone else play the flute for him? Hey-o!
Oh, no.
I have to assume. I watched an edited version of it, so one presumes that it went into something like that.
Go ahead and make it worse, Al.
Yes.
I like that. Just, yes.
Oh, man. So this is, I've heard something like this before. This is nothing incredibly new. But just in Twitter's cancel culture and, outrage. I mean, the SJW mindset thrives on victimhood. They can't survive unless they point out ways in which they are being victimized or this person next to them is being victimized. They either have to be the victim themselves or the white knighter for a victimized person or people group or whatever. Never mind that orcs aren't real. They think, well... You guys, I want some of your expertise. Al, I'll start with you, and I definitely want Troy, because you guys both actually have done tabletop role-play gaming.
Yes.
You guys, this is something you guys are into. I never really got into that. I like video game role-playing gaming. But just from a writing perspective, so the article talks about some of the tweets that are going out, and this is one, CW, blatant racism. I'm in genuine awe that this came out of this edition of D&D. And look at this is what it says to my orcs. Most orcs have been introduced into a life. Here, let me get to they write it out towards a bit bigger. Introduced into a life of destruction and slaughter, but unlike creatures who by their very nature are evil, such as gnolls, it's possible that an orc, if raised outside its culture, could develop a limited capacity for empathy, love, and compassion. No matter how domesticated an orc might seem, if its bloodlust flows just beneath the surface with its instinctive love for battle, they're upset because this is just... it's marginalizing the race of the orcs, and they think it's either too much like what they claim people are doing to other races, and sometimes people are doing it to other races in the world, or certainly throughout history, or they think it's just a thin stand-in for this or that race. Now, they're probably throughout science fiction and fantasy, if you're writing a character, if you're writing a different race, the whole point, the tool of creating a different alien race or a different fantasy race or whatever, and the way to do it well is you're supposed to take one little aspect of humanity and magnify it in that race. That's where you start. And if you start to use that race a lot, you can definitely expand them and deepen them and make them more three-dimensional than that. But I mean, that's hey, the Ferengis are greedy. The Klingons are warmongers. That's at least, they've developed a lot more from that, but that's where it started. The dwarves like their gold and greed, but there's more to them than that too. But that's the kernel that you start with when you're writing characters like this. It's not about thinking of a race of people or thinking, it's hypothetically somebody could do that. And I know that's been done at some point, in history. I'm just no examples are coming to mind right now, but sure, that's been done now and then. It should be called out when it is. That's not what this is, though. This is good writing for a different people group or different race of beings. When you take that element of humanity, for good or for bad, you magnify it, you play with it, and you put it in the toolbox of this story, and allow it this experiment to play out. It's not about racism or marginalizing anything. This is that SJW mentality, always on the lookout for something to victimize. So, the orcs are, I don't know, whatever race they think that is. I mean, I've heard people say, the Ferengis, they're anti-Semitic. I've heard, and the thing is, once you go on like that, once you start pointing out which representation of these races are like actual races, you're the racist one, because you're the one making the connections. It's not the writers. You're going in and saying, haha, that's you, not them. It's ridiculous. But I do have to hit the restroom, but I figured I'd let Al I'd start with you, because Troy kind of took point on the last one, but I want to hear from both of you. But from your D&D, did you ever run into any of this when you were playing D&D, or what are your thoughts on these kind of characters and stuff? And I'll be right back.
Quite frankly, when I was playing for the first time, when I got into D&D in college, my dwarf, Baltec, God love him, still love him, still my favorite character to this day.
Wait, don't you mean Moradin love him?
What?
Don't you mean Moradin love him?
Oh,
Moradin is the god of the dwarves.
Actually, with my dwarf at one time it was Athena. But it was that was a whole storyline thing.
Okay, I'd be interested in hearing that sometime.
Yeah, she saved him once, and he swore to.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it was cool. She gave me an axe with that had like an owl motif on it. It was awesome.
I'll tell you, any god that gives you a weapon, that's gonna be your patron. Let me tell you. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
It was pretty cool. But an orc was an orc. That's all it was. It was a creature you had to kill to get experience points. It was a monster looking thing. At the time, when I started, the only really orc reference I'd ever seen visually were from the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings, which were the rotoscope weird things, and the Rankin Bass big fat lizard things that basically are almost look like the same thing as the Gamorrean guards.
Yeah,
Jabba's. Exactly. Yeah, that to me is what an orc kind of looked like for a long time until the movies came along, and even then, I mean, they're animalistic, twisted beings, and it's not about any kind of racial aspect in today's culture society. It's part of this world. Dwarves have certain properties because of their culture and civilization, and yes, the SJW, with nothing better to do with their freaking lives, is what, pick up the D&D book and start like finding all the stuff, something they can make a big deal out of. This is this is someone who needs to have a higher intelligence and wisdom scores.
So that's kind of like saying that the succubus is subjugated because she's a woman and she's sexualized. I mean, what the heck are we talking about here?
Quite frankly, succubus has a lot of power, and
this is the inherent problem. We're dealing with a fantasy setting where it's not meant to be the real world. The real world has degrees and shades of gray. The fantasy world is absolutes that don't really work quite as well in the real world. The orcs and the goblins and the so-called chaotic evil characters in the monster manual are evil. You are supposed to be able to cast a spell and go, yep, they're evil. You're good. It's perfectly okay to kill them. It's demons versus angels.
Mm-hmm.
There are absolutes. There is not a moral relativism here. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, when you start talking about shades of gray, you have characters that are neutral good, neutral evil, true neutral, whatever. There's a reason that these alignments exist. that can only happen in a fantasy setting. It can only happen in a Tolkien-esque sort of setting where you have a race that is evil. And yes, I have been in games where we have played with the whole concept of, oh, they're evil, so it's perfectly okay to wipe them out. Let's kill them. Let's plunder their items. What do they have? Well, they have 250 gold. They have magic armor. They have magic weapons. He's got rope, 10-foot pole, and a letter written in Goblin. I cast read language. What does it say? It says, Daddy, have a great day at work today. And then you sit there and go, oh, and that's just the DM effing with you. Okay.
Yep.
But ultimately they were out there trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And you did what you were supposed to do. You don't suddenly, gain dark side points or become chaotic evil because you killed the guy that was trying to kill you. Okay. It's a little throw in that the DM does just to mess with you.
Yeah.
But then you have the situation where you get into the goblin community, and do you kill all the women and children? No, because you're not an evil character. You kill the ones that are trying to kill you, and you say, you have an opportunity to run or surrender. I don't want to have to kill you. I mean, there is role playing that goes into it. But when you start reading into the whole, well, the orcs represent this race. Okay, now the racism is on you because you're the one that decided to equate orcs to whatever you equated them to. And even if you're not doing that, even if you're not saying, well, they're the same as this real human race, you are now creating an outrage over a fictitious race that doesn't even exist. What are we even talking about here? This is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Get a life, people. I'm sorry.
There are certain races that are just evil and need like all bugbears should just be castrated. I mean, they those characters aren't waiting for Al to jump on that one. This is an inside joke. Al's character in a D&D game. I think it was a dwarf at first.
Here's the story. Baltec was fighting on a boat. Not exactly his favorite place to fight. Gets knocked off the boat in full armor. And of course he's a dwarf, he can't swim.
So he sinks right to the bottom of the river.
So I sink right to the bottom and drown. But I was once told by Athena that my axe had a power that I would not know until the time came. Well, that power happened to be reincarnation. Not resurrection, reincarnation. So I turned into a bugbear. And so I spend part of the game as a bugbear, and eventually we get in trouble. I get captured. I wake up on an altar, and my stuff gets sacrificed to Asmodeus. So that happened. But thank God I eventually had, or thank whoever. Something eventually happened where I turned back into a dwarf and they came back with me.
I am so glad you actually went onto this topic, Prof, because this does give me the opportunity to pitch my channel a little bit. One of the things that I'm planning on doing in the next couple of weeks is I'm going to do a dramatic reading, or however you would put it, of a campaign that we did in our role-playing game that was so phenomenal. It was, for you, Professor, you would love it, because I know you've talked about wanting to get into role-playing and being really dissatisfied with how much it's all about rules and numbers and combat.
It's all about math. Where's the story?
And the reality was that this particular campaign was so much role-playing that I started writing it as a story.
Oh, cool.
And it was so much fun. The story was so good that everyone that I've known that's read it is like, dude, you got to do something with it. You got to publish it. Well, I can't publish it because it's It's literally just our role playing a commercially available module.
Yeah.
So I would never do that, but boy, it would make for some great content on YouTube.
That's how Dragonlance came about. That was actually someone's game.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, actually, the great characters of D&D, Bigsby and all those characters that have spells named after them, were all Gary Gygax's characters when he was running his games. You know, so I mean, there's something to be said for that. So yeah, I'm thinking about going and doing a narrative storytelling. I may even have Nanette, if she's willing and interested, to do the female voice acting for the dramatic.
Yeah, my DM took the time over the course of years as we were doing story.
I'll do that.
But over the years, as we were doing the campaign, because this was all something he had came up with. They weren't modules or anything that he did. Once in a while, he would pull a module out, but most of it was just off his own brain. And he would write the narrative as we went along. And I've got somewhere a folder just filled with the narrative of our campaign. I know where Baltic came from, and I know how he died. I actually played his death. It was a grand and glorious death, fighting a Balrog.
It is like, I'd love to so many things about the tabletop role-playing game experience do appeal to me, but I've watched like sessions, and it's just like, it's so much math for like 2 minutes of plot to get through, you know. So maybe there's different ways of doing it.
Oh, for God's sake, if you have the right DM, all you got to do is roll a dice, tell them what you rolled.
Yeah, it really, you just put it on the DM, and the DM says, roll a D20, tell me what you get. That's really all you have to worry about.
Unless you got a magic sword, it's like, well, I got to add 2 to that or whatever, you know.
Maybe the versions I was watching were so focused on like showing the process or something. Maybe
have you been watching like the table, what is it, Roll20 and whatnot on YouTube? Is that what you're referring to?
I am. I'm a fan of now I'm blanking on their name.
Deborah Ann Wall is one too.
Yeah. Just keep in mind, guys, all of those are just the YouTube equivalent of reality TV. They're not real. They're all scripted. They're made to look like they're real D&D games.
I liked what Will Wheaton was doing on YouTube, where they would take different games that came out and they would play them. And you kind of got an idea of the gameplay.
Viva La Dirt League. They're the they're the ones that do the videos, you know, they did some role playing sessions, and you know, I mean, they're all fun to watch, you know, because they're all charismatic and, you know, make cracking jokes and stuff, but the process itself just seemed like it was going so slow.
I love that real life image that you have up.
Yes.
Except
commercial,
except for Dungeon Master. That is creepy as all hell.
He was a little CGI.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito as Dungeon Master.
Oh gosh,
that's pretty cool. That was that commercial they did.
Yeah.
But you know, another thing too that, you know, because they're playing the racism card now. Well, sexism has been a big thing too, and it drives me so freaking crazy every time somebody does a little skit or something like that, or tries to make a little joke like women armor. That's a joke. Women aren't covered, and you know, the men get all this covered, but the women. This is fantasy. We want to see strong, bulky men who look like they can kick butt. We want to see feminine, shapely women. That's the way fantasy works. It's not reality. What do you think you're looking? This is freaking Dungeons and Dragons, or it's freaking Age of Conan. What kind of realism do you think you're owed? You know, they certainly wouldn't cover up these vulnerable organs. I mean, it's fantasy. It just drives me crazy, and everybody who makes that joke thinks they're the first person who's ever done it too.
So what's really funny is you did share that one video, and keep in mind that video that you shared, it was very clear that they weren't referring to tabletop role playing. They were referring to online.
That was video games. Yeah.
Exactly. Because in a video game, the visualization is created for you.
Yeah.
Whereas in your tabletop, the statistics for the armor are what they are. If you're wearing plate mail, scale mail, chain mail, whatever. It is what it is. And how you visualize it is entirely up to you. And I have played for enough years to know that I've played with women who want to play sexy. And they're like, look, I know that I've drawn my character to wear bikini mail, but she still has, armor class 20 because magic,
Yeah.
And I have played with women who go, you know what? I'm sexy when I'm not in combat. When I'm in combat, I want everything covered. And rightly so. I mean, it all depends on, it comes down to the whole give women agency. Okay. Their body, their choice, their character, their choice. If they want to look sexy, they can look sexy. If they want to be hyper realistic, they can be hyper realistic, because you know what? Men do the same thing. I want to be all big and buff and show my arms, and I'm never going to get shot in the bicep with an arrow because armor class.
Yeah. I just want to tell the chat, Al's been sending us pictures of the Star Trek porn parodies.
Just 2 and nothing bad.
Fully clothed.
Fully clothed. No actions going on.
He said
I do want to say. I sent you the captain, and the second one was Kimberly Kane as Crusher.
Well, I don't recognize her, but the guy playing Picard, that guy really does look like Patrick Stewart.
He does.
I have no idea, but yes, those are the people in the PG, version of the porn parody that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that word on your stream.
That's all right. Yeah.
We're gonna get you shut down one way or the other, I guess.
I do want to say, you've got the pictures up there of the Dungeons and Dragons animated series, and you can have Tila. I'll take Sheila, the little invisible thief, any day.
Oh yeah, she's great. Yeah, she's another of the cartoon hero. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're kids, guys. They're kids.
Hey, I was a kid too when I watched it. That's the thing.
The problem is they're still kids. Okay, because they're cartoons.
No. I'm still a kid when I watch it, so it's okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. I'm done.
As we said
I'm
before,
out.
It's a fantasy world.
Done with
and it's a fantasy.
Obviously we're not advocating that, but it's a different thing when you experienced an actress or whatever. Yeah. Like if I watch trying to think, I give you I weird you out a lot about the Christina Ricci thing, but I was her age. Yes. Now, if I watch Adam Family Values right now, I don't look at her as a little girl and think, oh, she's sexy. But I do remember when I was that age too, thinking, wow, she's kind of cute, So I remember that feeling, but it doesn't mean I look at her and go, hey.
I'm a little bit older than you. So when Adam Family Values came out, she was a kid. I was an adult.
True.
But I will say, the kids in the series were teens, but they sure weren't drawn that way.
They rarely are.
You know what? There's something to be said about culture, and that's all I'm going to say. Very different cultures. Okay. Hashtag tentacles out. That's all I'm going to say.
Hashtag Wookie boobs.
And I love the weapons on here, like Hank's bow. Remember when they went to the Dragon's graveyard? There were all the other different weapons and stuff floating around.
Then it laughs 30 seconds late because she's on the delay.
I know. I heard her Wookie boobs. Yeah, no, I do remember those weapons though. Those were awesome.
Yeah,
what's great about it though is they're really awesome ideas that aren't something that there's anyone who's ever played Dungeons and Dragons and watched that cartoon knows there's a huge disconnect. For one thing, the Dungeon Master is a narrator. He's not an actual character.
Sure, yeah.
Those weapons, especially that bow, brilliant idea that doesn't really translate too well to the actual game mechanics. Although I have seen all of these characters and their weapons created using D&D rules in a very creative way. It would kind of be disappointing if you were really looking to recreate the stories of those cartoons, but Thundar the Barbarian.
Wasn't that awesome too? Love that.
Yeah.
We talk about He-Man so much, which I love, but yeah, a lot of these other ones had
Was there a toy line that went with this? There must have been, right?
Here's some right here. Are those customized or are those actual toys? Looks like they're actual manufactured, doesn't it? I don't know.
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of retro, collector type toys that are being made now that didn't exist back when the cartoons came out.
Oh, sure, yeah, okay, yeah.
And I have to imagine that's what this is.
You probably could have taken a Thundar, made a He-Man a Thundar pretty easily.
It was a similar design, yeah.
In fact, I would have to imagine that, especially with the Savage World figures that are coming out and all that kind of stuff, there's almost certainly a community of people that are taking those figures and doing exactly this kind of customizing.
Yeah. That's cool though. Yeah, I love fantasy and sci-fi. There's just two golden genres for that kind of stuff.
And I wish I were that young again.
Bringing it back to where we originally started this, that is the thing about fantasy. Fantasy is not reality. Fantasy cannot be viewed through the eyes of realism. It shouldn't be. It is meant to create dichotomies that don't exist in the real world. Absolutes. Pure good and pure evil. And
I wanted to interject though, in terms of when you're writing a long, like let's say you're writing a novel series, or you're talking about something like the EU or the Middle Earth, entire series, not just a single book or something like that. Certain races you do have to, you can't just stick with but you do it in a way that doesn't ruin that kernel. So like the example I'm thinking of is Stargate SG-1. Loves, I don't know, did you watch that too? I know Al and I like it. Did you watch that, Troy?
Yeah,
I have not. We watched the original. Yeah, I know. We watched the original movie and then we caught an episode here and there, but
it's hard if you catch an episode here and there because they do. But that went for 10 seasons in the end, I think. And so it's a long time to develop these things. So that's a long time for the Goa'uld, to just be this 100% two-dimensional evil, but they stayed that. Now, how they got away from making it bad writing or something was you also had the Tok'ra, who were the race of the Goa'uld that broke off and actually wanted to live peacefully with their cohabit the bodies that they inhabit. What's the word I'm looking for? Symbiotic relationship. Yeah, they actually wanted to have peaceful relationships with that, and actually fought against the Goa'uld who were ruling humanity in different worlds and stuff like that. So you develop things like that, but that doesn't mean that you got to suddenly make, wait a minute, guys, we just kind of misunderstood the Goa'uld. They're really not all that bad. And no, evil's still evil, especially in stories. Evil has to be evil so that good can be good. Because if you start to gray up and milk down your evil so much, then that happens with the good too. And then you get the Battlestar Galactica remake.
Well, or you see the example from Star Trek where
I swear.
Where the Klingons start out as these two-dimensional evil, they were, just evil for evil's sake. Mm-hmm. They were, pirates. They were just the nasties. That worked great in the 60s. When you brought them into the 80s, they decided, what, we need to kind of evolve them a little bit. They went from the communist, Chinese communist Russia to Shogun Japan, and now it was about honor. And now, they could be adversarial, but they could just be misinterpreted, and they could be allies. And so now we need a new villain. Who can we have that can be a pure villain? Well, then you create the Borg. They have no soul at all. They are just pure, I have no idea who that is.
That's Lisa from the Weird Science TV show on USA.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it is.
She was one of the Tok'ra. I'm blanking her name now from Superman 2. She was a Tok'ra.
I mean,
you might have been that angel, right?
I love that outfit she's wearing. That's very Klingon.
Oh yeah. The Tok'ra, they
actually, I would not be surprised if that outfit wasn't actually used on a Klingon at one point. These shows reuse costumes and props all the time.
Oh sure, yeah. Especially all these that were all shot in Vancouver.
Right.
I love that. I love through the Stargate they go to all these different planets, and the planets have to be habitable to human life, Right. But Every now and
And
then they
they,
get inventive. Like what Al? Yeah,
and they all look like the Pacific Northwest.
I know. Every now and then it's like an ice planet or something. For the most part, it's those pine trees. It's yeah. So it was a great show though.
Well, and there is a conceit in sci-fi just out of necessity of the production. But every now and again, you will get. I believe it was in SG and it was definitely in Star Trek, where you find out that if you go far enough back, the life was seeded throughout the galaxy from some progenitor or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
based on the Chariots of the Gods book. Yeah,
exactly. So it,
Hathor.
or
Talk about a
transpermia
glow.
or something like that.
That episode of Star Trek where they had where we find that out that all the races have a similar background.
Mhm.
The Klingon in that is the worst Klingon that I've ever seen in a Star Trek show.
Yeah. They
Hathor.
the unfortunate thing is because they put so many characters into it, you get that I'm a little distracted now.
Hathor's the Egyptian
Hathor
Aphrodite. Yeah, she's the Egyptian Aphrodite, so the gold that took on her persona was aptly cast.
So when you have a multitude of characters, you get very little character development, and so you get this very two-dimensional, I don't know. You got to be a good writer in order to do a good ensemble cast.
I do want to say this, Professor. You need to be careful when you are Russian rouletting images like
that. I keep waiting for the Shara from the season 1 pilot to show up, and I'm like, we won't show that because the season or the show first premiered on Showtime. So the pilot actually there's nothing sexual in it, but it actually has nudity in one point, and then it got bounced over to another network where it didn't have that stuff anymore. But I love the mythology aspect of it too, because these gold aliens would pose as human gods. So on other worlds, all these ancient gods from mythology are still ruling over peoples that they'd seeded other planets with. Sokar was like basically the devil. That was like freaky. No, but Anubis and
I was like the Asgard, who were like Thor and Odin.
The Greys. Yeah, the Asgard were the ones from like Roswell. Yeah, Thor and Heimdall.
That seems kind of weird.
And they were always voiced by the cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember at one part. One was behind the scenes. Samantha Carter was doing.
You're telling me that those aliens are Thor and Odin, and
they're the ones that because they were benevolent gods to ancient worlds. Now that's not these aren't the ones that developed in the human.
Yeah, but they projected a holographic image.
Yeah.
They established that. Yeah, they had Thor appear in one episode. It was this big burly Viking guy with a big hammer.
Okay.
I think it was this episode where Samantha Carter's with Thor, is it, or Odin? But the puppeteer reached up with the puppet's hand and like grabbed her butt like in the middle of the scene, and she reached over and slapped the puppet, and then they were yelling at her like, "Hey, that costs money! Slap the guy who did it, not the puppet."
That's the kind of stuff that makes for great TV. It's like, that's it. Print that. That's going in the show.
Look at this. We haven't seen Amanda Tapping in a while. I wonder what she's up to.
I think she had the family and everything, and after Sanctuary and everything, she just kind of retired to do her mom thing. So that's a great show.
Sanctuary, and I think Hunchback. Sanctuary.
Sanctuary was a cool show.
Yeah, it was good.
This was an SG show?
No, it was a separate show.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, sci-fi show, but it was originally on online, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, originally started online and they rebooted it on the Sci-Fi Channel. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I like a lot. I mean, sci-fi used to have some fun stuff like Eureka.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Eureka. Warehouse 13.
Warehouse 13 is good, yeah.
Yeah.
Warehouse 13 was, to me, a disappointment because Warehouse 13 it took the place of what was meant to be a series based on a show called The Lost Room. It was a mini series.
That sounds familiar.
Oh, Lost Room was incredibly good. and it was clearly meant to be a pilot for something else that never happened, and they instead went to Warehouse 13, which was much more lighthearted and a little goofy, and I was like,
which
this
was
is
right up
good.
my alley.
Yeah, no, I mean it was good, but I was so disappointed that we never got a true series based on the Lost Room.
I will always have a very dear fond.
You cut out, Al.
You will have a dear fond.
You'll always have a dear fond. Hi, Mr. Matchstick. So you pop in there too, Fred Leggett. Hopefully Al will rejoin us in a moment.
He's gonna probably go away for a little while. So
I had questions for him too, because as we're wrapping up, I wanted to get to just one or two of these scenarios. We'll get to more of them next week. But
well, while we're waiting on Al, I really quickly wanted to one piece of news that you probably wouldn't have been on your radar. I did want to mention Fan Man. I want to thank him for this. He asked me what in a private message. He asked me about some of the Hellraiser news that's come out recently.
Hello,
there you are.
Go ahead and ask Al the question you were going to ask him.
No, go ahead and finish the Hellraiser news. You said yours.
So I had to admit when he started talking in a chat like I knew what he was talking about. I'm like, Fan Man, I got to admit, I appreciate that you think I've been following Hellraiser as closely as I have, but unfortunately, because there's been so much yay and nay and talks of reboots and talks of series that have been in existence for years and then gone away, I've kind of lost interest. I don't believe anything until something actually happens at this point. But I did look at one of the articles that he sent me, and Deadline, which is a web page that deals with horror news and so forth, is talking about what is clearly a little bit further advanced than I had thought. HBO has in development, literally has in development, a Hellraiser series that would continue the storylines of the movies. Keeping in mind that there is talk of a reboot movie franchise that would break away from the original movies and be more faithful to the Clive Barker books, which is fine. If we have an HBO series that continues, and the person that they have not only executive producing it but direct as something is a guy by the name of David Gordon Green, who I know that name probably doesn't mean anything to most of the people in the stream, but if I were to make an analogy, he'd be like to Hellraiser the Dave Filoni of Star Wars. Okay, someone who clearly knows the lore and knows the EU version of the lore and fully intends to bring it into
so not so much like Dave Filoni, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't know anything about his politics. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff, but clearly.
No, I just mean the EU knowledge thing. I was just commenting. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay, somebody who has, let's say, fan cred.
Yeah.
And fills me with a little bit of faith. So I'm kind of eager about that. Don't want to go too much into it, and didn't want to get too much into because I don't have too much to offer beyond this article. Just to say, boy, I kind of really appreciate Fan Man kind of pulling me back to, looking into that news, because I'd been ignoring it for so long because there had been nothing happening. I'm actually starting to get a little excited about this again.
Cool. Al, you were in the middle of a thought when you died there. Do you remember what you were saying?
It was just about Warehouse 13, just a little nugget. I think I've told it before. But I'll always have a fondness for Warehouse 13 because of actor Eddie McClintock. After I'd gotten out of a nursing home after a year, I was kind of hoping to get to a convention, and Eddie McClintock was one of the guests. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it, but I had a couple friends who went, and I just said, bring me back an autograph. That's all I want. Give me, just a couple autographs, and I'll be happy. Well, I'm sitting at home on Saturday, and the phone rings, And I answer, and I'm hello, and I hear, "Is this Big Al?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to see how you were doing. I heard you weren't feeling too good." I was like, "Is this Eddie McClintock?" And he's like, "Yeah."
That's awesome.
They've got my friends had literally just had told him about me, and he's like, "Hey, let me call him." And that's I will always have a fondness for Eddie McClintock because of that and his show.
I always love when I go to the cons now, and I always grab some autographs for you because I kind of piggyback on your story a little bit. But every time I ask them, "Oh, can you do this for my friend? He's not here." Like, "Oh, where's your friend?" And I explain, "Oh, this and that," and then there's like this big thing, and I get more time with them too, just for having them think about you and give you special stuff for me to take to you. But speaking of cons, they
Proxy.
canceled Shore Leave.
Yeah, I know.
Gonna meet Brandon Routh. They canceled it. Oh,
So let's just
Stupid.
assume that most cons are being canceled because
Yeah.
if you're planning a con, you're planning almost a year out and you have nothing to go on except what's going on right now. You saw when I shared with you that the Metropolis Superman celebration was canceled because and they basically said we have no choice. We have to go with what's going on right now because we can't we can't.
They'll lose money if they keep
going.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why there's a lot of fans that are going, why is Creation still selling tickets for Star Trek conventions?
When is that?
Creation is the licensed Star Trek.
A lot of conventions.
They are the Uber corporate con.
And it's getting to be a little, there's some grumbling in the fan community because it's like, look, do you know something that nobody else does? Why are you still collecting money?
Yeah.
That's kind of disingenuous.
Yeah.
Well, then you can ask who's dumb enough to be paying.
Agreed. But I don't know. If I was running a business, you want to get out in front of that and say, I want to be honest and I want goodwill with my, constituents. And, I don't know.
As terrible as losing Shore Leave is, it was the right call.
Oh yeah. I'm just disappointed.
I mean, because
what are you going to do?
Even for 2020, basically, let's face it, it's a bust. I mean, we're gonna have to wait till next year for anything to really.
I saw a meme the other day. It was like
to be back to normal again.
Have we tried putting 2020 in a bag of rice, like we're gonna throw it or something? But yeah. Well, we've gone 2 hours now, and I do have to go get some work done. Now, one of the things I had in store, which we'll actually save most of which for next week, is if we didn't look like we are going to make our time or whatever. I had some scenarios and like kind of geeky questions I was going to ask you guys, but there's one that there's one that I want to close on. I want to get Al's answer.
What we need to do to you is what we do to Sound Engraver, and we just keep the conversation going to see if we can get you to go another half hour, another half hour.
That would work if I didn't have due dates. I know, poor Sound Engraver. She's like, oh, okay, I need to write.
And I keep saying, look, it's your show. You can shut it down anytime you want to.
All you gotta do is click that button.
But it's so much fun, right?
Well, when I said in the messenger, I said, I'll get some like geeky questions, like, lists or whatever, things like that for you guys. Troy said, I'm just waiting for this to devolve into a would you rather kind of scenario. So I hadn't thought about that initially, but then I thought about
don't tell me I got you
perfect would you rather question for Al that I think would be great to kind of end this on.
Dear God.
So let me look this up real quick. I'm looking up and then we'll close out this. Looking up Andrew McCarthy's IMDb.
Oh no!
Oh God, dude!
And for those who don't know, Al just has this irrational hatred for Andrew McCarthy. It's nothing he said, nothing he's done. He just doesn't like his face.
A punchable face.
It says 79 acting credits. Okay, so maybe a little less than that with some movies. If you had to watch, let's say, a marathon of as long as it took, days on end, whatever, as long as it took, would you rather watch a marathon of every movie that Andrew McCarthy has ever played in, or Sleep with a Wookiee? Hashtag Wookie boobs.
Okay, it's a female Wookiee.
Yes,
That makes all the difference, Al, right? I mean,
Yes.
I'll sleep with a Wookiee, but I'm not doing any gay Wookiees. I mean, that's a bridge too far.
Oh, Al.
I
What is it?
jeez, dude.
Now, see, Al's in a
Right.
weird place right now because he wants to just say sleep with a Wookiee, but he doesn't want to sound like, it's too easy for him to say that.
Well,
So
that's
he's-
why you came up with this, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Okay. How many acting credits?
73, I think. 79, 73.
Oh god. And I have to watch them all.
Yep. Every single one.
Oh well, I guess I have to get plenty of Drano for the shower afterwards.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Oh, man. All
I
right.
just gotta say, I'm so glad that I was spared this. I'm assuming that I was spared this because Nanette's in the stream.
Well, you'll have to answer yours next week, but I couldn't. This one was too good for Al, and I thought it'd be a perfect thing.
If you were going to give me a similar question, I'm trying to figure out what would be the equivalent of my Andrew McCarthy.
Although I would be worried about those little tree hugging claw things coming out at the wrong time.
They do have claws.
Technically, those are non-canon because they're not mentioned in anything that's canon. So,
Well, Legends is canon. EU
Right.
for the win. But that would be interesting. So yeah. All right. Well,
I know what's going to happen now. Between now and next week, he's going to be contacting Nanette and saying who would be an equivalent for Troy. He's going to Nanette,
I will just say I can always picture a woman in a fur coat. A big woman in a fur coat.
okay. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
everything else just went out of my head.
I
Professor.
know, right?
I can't sit through Mannequin again. I can't.
Yes.
Hey, Mannequin was great. I love
Mannequin was awesome. Kim
Thank you.
Cattrall. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. She's
Amazing.
got to balance out Andrew McCarthy. Come on. Not to mention that Jefferson Starship song.
Mhm.
Come on.
Kim was in Porky's and Police Academy and
Well, see, I'm not.
Star Trek 6.
yeah.
I nothing against Kim Cattrall. I know the power of Kim Cattrall. Trust me. I remember Porky's quite well.
I remember Porky's because it was on, every 3 hours on HBO when cable first started.
I would love to get, and I cannot find them on the high seas. I would love to get those 3 movies on a MP4.
Was there 3 Porky's movies?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's Porky's 2 the next day, and
Porky's 3 The
Porky's
Revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. You're right. I remember that.
when he had the floating Porky's boat.
DRY Designs Network says female Wookiee equals Big Allison.
Aged Boomer, I would love to do a Pretty in Pink rewatch, but I would never do that to Big Al.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd be there for the Psychedelic Furs.
Okay. For
Psychedelic Furs
complete
with Nico?
The song.
Oh no, I'm
the
sorry, that
band.
was Velvet Underground. My
Yeah.
apologies.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, first of all, Ducky got robbed.
He did.
No, but for 100%, honesty, out of full disclosure, I know we're having fun here. I would watch, like I said, any movie, even with Andrew McCarthy, for a rewatch with a professor. I would do it.
Okay.
I know,
because
right?
I am a friend.
Getting the professor in a rewatch these days is like premium. So I mean,
Hey, let's
go ahead.
put the Maltese
Professor
Falcon on the
Plus.
calendar.
I'm all for that.
Let's put the Maltese Falcon down.
I
That's
would
good.
even be willing. I would even be willing No, maybe I'm not. I was going to say I might be willing to watch a Jane Fonda movie if Professor wanted to watch it, but no, I may not go that far.
We can watch Barbarella on mute, but
no. I won't even watch Barbarella. There's one Jane Fonda movie I will watch.
I do love On Golden Pond, which she was in.
That's not the one.
Which one did you say?
But I love that movie because it's so nice.
No, I will watch Cat Ballou. Cat Ballou because I love Lee Marvin. Lee Marvin balances out Jane Fonda for me.
What about 9 to 5? Dolly Parton balances out a lot of things.
True.
God, I'd forgotten she was in that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I completely blank her out because
it's Dolly or Lily. I mean,
right?
Jane's kind of plain Jane in the whole thing, so to speak.
And what's his name? The
Dabney Coleman.
Dabney Coleman. He's awesome. Oh my gosh. But no, can we take? I mean, I know you're in a hurry to end the stream, but real quick, I did want to talk about rewatches, especially because we got Sound Engraver in.
Talk about what you got going on. Yeah.
So this week we have on Saturday my rewatch of Memento. The following Saturday, Al, you said
First Blood.
First Blood.
First Rambo movie. Get a little action.
Did we decide that the following week we were going to go ahead and pull in Sound Engraver for the Pink Panther?
And that's from 1963, right?
I don't know. I don't know if
I don't
remember Sound Engraver gave a yes or no on that.
Sound Engraver said that she wanted to do a rewatch of Pink Panther, but I don't remember if we had specified a date for that.
She can just let us know in the
reason that I'm asking this, and Sound Engraver, please, if you're still in the stream, let us know if that would work for you. 2 weeks from this Saturday. But the reason I'm asking is because I want to start thinking through a night that we can, I want to give Katie, meteorologist Katie, a heads up on a date when we can do a rewatch with her of Twister.
I love Twister.
So for those of you that might not have heard previously, Sound Engraver is saying, let me watch it first, then I'll confirm. Okay, so yeah, if you could do that and let us know what would be a good night, Sound Engraver. Meteorologist.
That would be around mid-May. She said about mid-May. So.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Meteorologist Katie was the one who hosted the debate, the Doctor Who debate last week. She is a professional meteorologist in Iowa who she has a channel called So Many Fandoms. She's actually got some content where she has done some geeky weather reports for Star Trek and Star Wars, and
they are awesome, by the way,
aren't they? They are brilliant, and she's a real life weather chaser, just like in the movie Twister. And when I told her, about me and Big Al and the rewatches and stuff, she says, well, and I said half jokingly, I'd love to do a rewatch of Twister and bring you. And she said, oh, I'd be totally up for that. And I'm like, well, an opportunity to do a rewatch with a real life celebrity, someone who's like more celebrity than Professor Geek. I was like, that I can't pass up. So I just wanted to make that happen. So something to think about.
This Thursday, day after tomorrow, we're going to be starting I'm blanking on the name, the third book in the Thrawn trilogy.
The Last Command.
Last Command, yeah. Got the paperback version here. Yeah, The Last Command. So first 5 chapters. Get my hardback. And
when revenge becomes love. No, sorry, spoilers.
So yeah, that's Thursday, first 5 chapters, cracking into that. Don't forget I think it ends tomorrow night, the poll on my Twitter, where I'm asking people about possible next books, and the 2 I have up there now, we can maybe do a bracket, or if people really like one of these, as 2 I have there are 2 other Zahn books, Scoundrels, which takes place between episodes 4 and 5. It's an adventure with Chewie, Lando, and Han when they actually meet Winter for the first time. But then the other one is Outbound Flight, which is the background of the real Jeru Sabaoth and Thrawn and stuff like that. So possible ones. You can go vote on that on my Twitter. I think it's pinned to the top of the page. So there's that. That's Thursday, and then you already went over Friday and everything. So
see, I'm thinking maybe I should put up a poll, of maybe I should start a reread and ask people if they want to reread Tobin's Spirit Guide or the Necronomicon.
Nice. Al, you got any content or anything you want to pitch that's coming up?
Nothing that I really know about yet. I'm gonna try. I do want to do an afternoon with Al. Who knows? Keep an eye out. Yeah, I mentioned to do one, but I got to have someone leave the house for a while. But yeah, just keep an eye out. I am actually thinking about possibly doing some other live streamy stuff, like watching stuff. I'm not sure how I want to approach it yet. Just noodling some stuff out.
All right.
I do want to say, because for whatever reason, Professor Geek is really, really bad at self-promotion. I saw over 60 people at one time watching. I see over 42 likes. Guys, if you're enjoying the content that you're seeing on the Professor's channel, give him at least a like, a subscribe, whatever. But you know what? Look at the links. You could throw some money at this guy and kind of let him know that, hey, this is something that you appreciate. Throw some dollars at him. He's got a tip jar. He's got a is it Patreon or?
Patreon's getting defunct. I need to phase that out. But
what other show are you going to hear about Wookiee Love?
That's true.
Yeah. I mean,
PayPal.
Yeah, he's got a PayPal. Send him a few dollars, Professor. You still have the aspiration. What is it? The merch. What's
shirts?
Yeah.
Shirts? Oh yeah. Oh, aspirational comics thing. Yeah.
Aspirational comics and whatnot.
You're awesome.
Yeah, Sound Engraver. I am happy.
Thank you, Sound Engraver. Much appreciated.
You can always do super chats. That's another great way to support the guy. But
much appreciated, Sound Engraver.
I'm talking. God, you're wonderful, Sound Engraver. You really are. But I mean, I'm looking for you lurkers that just support your local YouTubers so that they can keep giving you the content that you're enjoying. I hate to sound like a PBS pledge drive or whatever, but he's not going to do it for himself. Just a little thank you if you enjoyed the past 2.5 hours. Where else are you how else could you get entertainment like this?
I appreciate that, Troy.
If you wanted to continue, let him know that it's something that he can do and feel justified in spending his time,
Much appreciated. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, going on.
It's easy for me to do since I'm not monetized. Al's not monetized, so
no
may as well try to help you out.
That's right. I really appreciate that. Yeah, thanks to everybody who does support the channel or joining the channel membership or the super chats and everything like that. All very much appreciated. But we'll be back Thursday for the book study, and you've heard about the rewatches scheduled, and then next week for is Fan Man doing is he definitely doing the rewatch Friday or?
I do believe he is leaning towards a certain film, but I'm not going to say anything because he hasn't announced it.
That's right. He hasn't. Yeah.
And even if he has, you never know until the last minute if it's happening.
Yeah, but it's a good one. one.
I don't know if I'll be able to be there because Friday night is midnight Friday night. That's when all of the exams and midterm or exams and essays are due. Like midnight Friday night is it. So.
And you're planning to wait till the last minute to turn them in.
No, but I also know how I know me.
I know.
I've streamed for 2.5 hours tonight rather than work on them. So, that kind of thing.
Okay. Fair point.
So, all right. Last call, last words. All right. Well, we'll be back next week and Thursday and everything. But thanks for hanging out with us. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love.
Andrew McCarthy or being crushed by a Wookiee. I don't know what